welcome everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Nets. I'm Ricky Hampton, along with the big fella, Milwaukee Buck legend, Paul Big Mo Kesky. Big Mo, how you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm doing great, man. You got two big fellas today, Ricky.
Yes, sir. It's big man's night here. We Got Nets. As a 6-footer, I just need to get out of the way and throw the ball inside to you guys. We got a former Wisconsin Badger center, Brian Butch, joining us. Long time, great playing during his days in the Big Ten. Has coached all over the place. And now, Brian, you're doing radio. We want you to get all the stuff you're doing the day before the night's over. But we also want to talk to you about what you've been seeing in the college game, in these NCAAs, and hopefully we'll get to talk a little NBA before you get out of here too.
Oh, first of all,
let's do it.
First of all, I want you to know, Ricky, and I haven't seen Brian in a long time, but he's one of my all-time favorite people. I coached against him in the D League back in the day. I tried to get him on my team like so many times, and no one would trade him to me. He was a 7-footer that could step out and shoot the three. Kind of a, people think I was ahead of my time, which I was, but Brian was ahead of his time also. And it's just great to have you on, Brian. Brian's played he played in the D League. He's played overseas in a lot of different places. He's seen a lot of great basketball and seen more college basketball than we have, Ricky, up close and personal. So it's going to be interesting to get into the Final Four situation.
Yeah, and Brian, I'm looking forward to this because the great thing about doing the show with Mo every week, I learned something from this guy practically every week. His insight on the games. I mean, he'll tell me stuff that happens 2 weeks later, and like Mo talked about this 2 weeks ago. So he that thing where big guys don't know the game and can't coach. Mo puts that to shame. That's probably something you dealt with throughout your coaching career too, huh, Brian?
Yeah, a little bit for sure. And I was in it for a short time, and then I realized let's try the broadcasting side of it. But I think to have success as broadcasting, it's tough to have success, and because you have to teach the game. And you've got to really dummy it down when you talk about it on TV, but you still need to be able to make sure you explain what is going on. And I've run youth basketball camps for 16 years now. So that's my way of still teaching. I coached for a couple of years. I played for over 10 all over the world. So I kind of use all that together to be able to talk the game now a little bit on TV. Now, it's amazing they let me on TV. That's the thing to me. It's amazing that they let me on TV. But I do that. I also catch Cole Love.
Hey, Charles Barkley's on TV, man.
Coach, very true, very true. And I also do Wisconsin basketball and work with their radio crew. So it's great. I work with the great Matt LePay, and that's been fun to go back home and be a part of that program a little bit more consistently this year. But I've seen them all. I've seen Purdue. I saw Arizona up close. Work with Fox Sports. So I've seen a little bit of the Big East, seen a little bit of UConn as well. And the Final Four is going to be great, guys.
Hey, before we get to that, what are your thoughts on the Big Ten and its expansion? USC and UCLA coming to the Big Ten. I mean, it just does not seem right, Brian.
No, but it's all about money. And if you're going to be a part of it, you better be one of the biggest, and that's what the Big Ten is now. So I'm thankful for that because I work for the Big Ten Network, which means I got more games and a little bit of job security. But I'm not a fan of it. And the reason I'm not a fan of it, football and basketball, I think are going to be just fine. Basketball, it's gonna suck, realistically. Wisconsin went to Arizona and played them. They had to leave a day early just to get used to it, and still got ran out of the gym. I think there's a part of that's going to be tough to adjust to. How do you get bodies right? I mean, if you go and leave after the game like most teams do, you're getting back at 6 a.m. Now you're asking kids to go to school. Mainly, you're asking kids, how do you practice the right way then for the next one? The school part of it, they have all the help they need. They'll get their tutors. They'll have study sessions. I'm not worried about that. They'll be right there. But playing-wise, let's say you play 2 days later, You get back at 6 a.m. How do you get your body right? We're not professionals. The difference between a pro and college guys, are pros understand you got to do it every night. College kids, they don't get it quite yet. Like, it's about consistency. The difference between being a pro and being a college player is that pro, if you don't bring it every night, you don't have a job. College, you still do because there's no other options.
Yeah, and I think, I agree. And, it used to be like back in the day, the conferences were located so they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to really stretch their travel. And, difference is it's funny playing in the league when, rookies would come in and, before the All-Star break, they're like dying, and when's the season over? Like, we're not even the All-Star break yet. We got another college 30 games coming after this. What are you talking about? Because the travel does, getting up and getting over, and then time changes is what's really different. And yeah, I'm not making any excuses for anything, but I told people in Lawrence that, you don't have a bench and you're going to come to Salt Lake City and play in the altitude. You better get here either the day of the game or 3 days before the game, or you're going to, we used to go play Denver. It was brutal, or the Utah, and, kids aren't used to doing that.
No, and that's the biggest difference that it is. It really is. And they just don't know. They're still kids, even though they're getting NIL money and they're getting paid a little bit, and some are getting paid more. And that's a whole different thing as far as the state of sports. My only thing when it comes to that is this. I hope the fans of college basketball don't fade away because of NIL. It'll get corrected. It'll get fixed. This is out of control. It won't last this long. No kid in college should be making $500,000. They should be making $1 million. They're not worth it. I don't mean it like that, but no business, no collective. They're not seeing their return with college kids like that. You're just not going to. So it's going to get back. I just hope you don't lose fans on that.
Here's that's right on point too, Brian. Like in the NBA or even pros overseas or whatever, there's a lot of jealousy and chips on your shoulder. Like LeBron's and those guys making $40 million, and you think you should be playing, and you're only making $2 million. And then there's egos getting in the way. In college, I always knew they're like you said, they're kids, and now so. The starting quarterback at Alabama makes $1 million, and the linemen make, $20,000. There's going to be a conflict there. And like, wait a minute, why aren't I getting paid? And I knew when they did this that they're going to open Pandora's box. And my opinion was they should get paid something, but not unlimited of whatever you can do. It's supposed to be parity, right? But Hunter Dickinson left Michigan to come to Kansas. Not for the school, for an extra $300,000 NIL money, and that just gets out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, before we get to the men's, I want to talk a little bit about the ladies tournament, and more. And I talked a little bit about this last week, Brian. It seems to be the level of play of women's basketball has really taken off. Maybe the last 10 years or so. I have my daughter played Division I basketball and was a good player, but she didn't play the way these kids are playing now. What do you see contributing to that? Get your take, and Mo and I talked last week. You could jump back in after Brian, Mo.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the investment in the game. Beginning of the year when I jump on college, we have our college call for Big Ten Network and Fox Sports. They have the initial call, and they've been now for a couple of years say, hey, we're going to make an investment in women's sports. We're going to put them on main TV. We're going to make sure that people can see them. Thank you. I'm a father of 2 girls. I got 2 girls and a boy.
Scholarship, baby.
Well, scholarship, but just in general, like, for a while there now, my oldest is 5 years old. My son's 3. He'll watch a basketball game with me. He'll pop up. He'll stay up late at night. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're 3. How do you know what rebounding means? So he must be watching me way too much. But my daughter actually watched this game, Iowa and LSU, and she goes, Daddy, there's girls on TV. And I was like, that was my first eye-opening experience of, hey, so if it took my 5-year-old to enjoy it because there's girls versus boys, how many other girls are out there that needed to see that on regular TV, not on some, BTM Plus or where you got to pay for it and you got to try to find.
Right.
No, this is normal TV. This is when you turn the TV on, and all of a sudden you've got a role model or somebody like you that you can watch. Like that. That's what girls should have. Now I'll say this, and we've seen this with it. Whether it was a lack of a weight room for the women's tournament last year, whether it's the wrong 3-point line this year, and now that's not the NCAA, that's the women's tournament that's in charge of that. You got to get it right.
Yeah.
Like, it's unacceptable. Like, you got to get that. That's one of those you can't get wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, it's 82-71 Iowa with 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go. And last time I looked, Caitlin Clark had 37 points. I mean,
yeah, I do a radio show here, and I got it into it with my co-host guy that Caitlin Clark couldn't play on a boys varsity basketball team. I'm like, are you kidding me? Have you seen how far out she shoots? I mean, if I'm a high school coach, I'm playing her the whole game. I don't care if she can't defend anybody. And that's what they said about Steph Curry. Too small, not strong enough. Come on, man.
Well, now the question comes: could she play in the Big Three? That's the question. I do a morning radio show as well, and I said I think she could. When you could shoot it like that, it gives you space.
Yeah. The problem with that though, Brian, is I don't know if she can, because in the Big Three they let it be physical, really physical, and you don't have to run. It's half court.
Yeah.
And so it's all squeezed in. And I've been to games, and Steve Nicks, who coaches one of the teams, good friend of mine, and man, it's like old school. They let each other beat on each other. And I don't know if, I hope she doesn't. I hope she just goes to the WNBA, makes her $1 million in NIL and whatever salary she makes, and hopefully she won't have to go overseas to make a living. And I mean, I'm here in Las Vegas with the Las Vegas Aces, who won back-to-back championships. They get 10,000 people to the game. It's phenomenal basketball. I hope she doesn't get sucked in, by the 5 million or whatever, and because it's really that Big Three is physical, man. They're old guys like us. We don't want to move. We want to hit somebody.
We can't move. It's not that we want to hit somebody. We can't move.
I know, exactly.
and the thing about Caitlin, even tonight, I don't know the true stats on her assists, but she's probably got 7-8 assists. And she's throwing some dimes, Brian, that some of her teammates can't even handle. Yeah. Maybe when she makes that step up, that, the pro kids.
For sure, no question. And I think this is the thing about women's, basketball especially, is you look at the matchup that you got tonight as she drills another 3 here. But then after this game, you've got UConn, USC.
Yeah.
You got the next one that's ready to take over when Caitlin leaves, and that's what this should be about. I love the game so much. I love what it's done. It's grown. The women's game needed more attention. I'm glad that it's getting more attention, and I'm glad that, because it all comes down to TV money. You talk about expansion of college sports, that it's TV money. Well, if you're going to have all this money, then make the investment in women's sports, and I give Fox and everyone else that's doing it a whole bunch of credit, because they are. And it's money driven and it's number driven, and I give America a whole bunch of credit for watching it, because if there weren't numbers behind it, they wouldn't have this platform either. So both have to happen.
Yeah, I think last year's game of this matchup was the championship, and like 12 million people. I bet there's more than 12 million watching this game right now, because I know we are in the side of our eyes.
Oh, absolutely. Exactly.
She's got 37 points, 7 rebounds, and 11 assists. Not a bad night.
Yeah, it's an average night, right?
Yeah, she'd have 15 assists, but she threw some backdoor dimes that they couldn't handle.
Right, exactly. Hey, I'm so interested about the I am looking forward to this other women's game tonight with USC and UConn, 2 great programs. Whomever wins, it's going to be a great championship game for the ladies. But I'm really interested to see what happens in the Final Four with the men's this year. Mo and I have talked about Zach Edey all season, Brian, and he is just a force. in the college game. But as Mo and I were talking about last year, Mo knows people all over the NBA. Those people were whispering to Mo last year, you know what, he might not even be a first-round draft pick. That is just stunning to me.
Well, the game changed. Coach, you know this. We talked, but I had John Horst come up to me while I was coaching. He goes, "Hey, if you still were playing at this age, you'd be making a lot more money." I said, "I know." My biggest thing is I was a stretch big that could stretch the floor and change the game a little bit, and now that's all they want. Back then, it really wasn't. You had to be physical. You had to get out. You had to hedge ball screens. You weren't playing drop coverage. That wasn't a thing that we were doing a whole lot of. And I'm a big slow white guy. I mean, come on now, that's what it is. Like, I could shoot the ball, I could rebound the ball. That's it. You want me to move my feet lateral and get out? And no. Coverage life would have been good, but the what if there. But I also think this, and I know a lot of people have talked about this. I think the draft this year is a little bit weaker, which helps Zach this year as far as NBA guys go. Because you look at it, you say, well, we can't, like, the draft isn't that good. The prospects aren't that good. Yeah, he's going to get drafted. His development, though, has been a big part of that as well. He's developed over this year and a lot over this year. And I mean, it's crazy to say that. I don't think enough people have realized how much he's developed his game to improve.
You saw him last year too, right, Brian?
Yeah.
So I think it seems to me that he's lost about 20 pounds probably, which has helped his lateral just enough because, like I talked to some scouts. I went to the G League game and, sitting by some of the scouts that I knew. And I asked him that question. And, well, he can't do a lateral. I'm like, can Brook Lopez? Come on, man. I mean, if I have a chance to pick someone that's forced and he's in between Brook Lopez and Yao Ming, I'm going to take that guy. I mean, even if you just play him 15 minutes, when I was in Dallas coaching, we had Sean Bradley rules. I mean, we played our other guys hard show on the pick and roll, Sean soft cover, and everybody knew it. You can get around that, but that dude, I mean, strong, physical, great hands, right or left hook, make free throws. Okay, he struggled the last game. I'm like, come on, man, it's a no-brainer. But I look at 7 out of the 10 first lottery picks are 18 and 19-year-old kids with arm spans. We got to find arm spans.
Hey, the measurements are great. And if I hit on that guy, I'm going to keep my job for a long time. These general managers say. So if not, whatever, it's good. We're on to the next one already, and that's why. I don't like that about the NBA. It's one of those things that I actually, it's crazy. I prefer the college because the NBA is so much about now. The NBA is the best players and they make plays, and people say they don't guard. That's not true. It's just guys make great individual plays a lot more than teams not guarding and that narrative that's out there. But I look at it and I really do think it's one of those things college wise, like. There's growth, there's development, and give me a winner. That's the one thing I don't agree with in the NBA. I think if more teams – now, I will say this. The teams that get it, they usually draft guys that are winners. They usually get – there's front offices that get it, and there's front offices that struggle. And usually those NBA teams are the ones that keep struggling.
I mean, I'll be in the Mavericks, draft room. I was there for 5 years. And, I felt, I did the workouts, pre-draft workouts and stuff. And, I'm looking at the reports and they're talking about arm span and vertical and all this stuff. I'm like, how about we put in something there about basketball IQ and competitiveness? I mean, Rolando Blackman and I did the workouts for 5 years, the pre-draft workouts. And after every workout, you could only have 4 guys on the floor at a time. We did full court 2-on-2 the short way. And we didn't care what they did. We wanted to see who's going to give up, who's going to yell at their teammate, who's going to still compete. Who's going to fight through tiredness? That's what I want to know.
Yep. Here's a question for you, Coach. Well, where do you think the basketball IQ is right now of the kids in high school going into college or going into the pros?
I just think it's so low now because, in AAU, you watch AAU basketball, all it is, and it drives me crazy, up and down. But here's what's really worse, Brian, is on defense, what they do is they full court press, and they fall back to a zone. No pro league, you don't do that. You run plays, you execute, and so that only lends itself to well, that's all I have to do. The coach loves me. I get to play, and all these guys are recruiting me. So that's all I have to do. I mean, 100 years ago when I was at USC, I coached Brian Scalabrine and Sam Clancy and Brian Blumenthal, guys that, they're 6'10", 6'11", could play. And I remember before the UCLA game, I'm running, the stuff I do, the hooks and drop steps, pick and roll, pop, all that shit. And I look at half court, and there's Ryan Hollins, a 7-footer from UCLA, kind of looking at like, what is that? I almost want to say, hey, I know we're playing you tonight, but come on over, get you some of this.
Well, even now with all the camps and stuff, I said, okay, we're going to play small-sided games. People are like, huh? What's that? Like, it's a foreign language. 2-on-2, we're playing it. You can't cross the line. Like, this, I'm not going to give you the full court. Like, we got to play in a small space. You got 2-on-2, play off each other, know how to play the game, understand the game. But we don't do that anymore. And that, I agree. I think that's one of the biggest things. I see it in the college game a lot now. Kids come in and they just don't know how to play. They don't know how to move it up. It's amazing.
I'll tell you what, Brian, if you were on our old Milwaukee Bucks teams and age, you would love it because Don Nelson, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest coaches ever, thought outside the box. And he would do, every once in a while, he would do a practice and we would scrimmage bigs against smalls. But we can't just run up and down the floor. So the centers were point guards. You had to run plays, you know, and the guards had to run rim run. And, so you made you think about, okay, I got to execute a play at the 2 position. I don't know, so it made you think that way. Man, if you did that today, people's heads would explode. Players' heads would explode.
I agree. And that to me that's the sad part about where we're at. I think obviously a lot of it is AU and it's a financial part of it. You're seeing more teams. Even back when I played AU in the state of Wisconsin, there was like 5 teams. Now there's over 300 teams that are AU. If you pay, you can play. And I don't love that. That's why I do all my camps and stuff that we do is all teaching. We'll play a little bit, but it's all small sided and there's a purpose. But I don't want to get into the AAU world because I think I don't think we're teaching the values that are needed to be good basketball players.
Hey, Brian, and before we go ahead, Brian.
Let me answer this first, Rick. There's a reason that European players and foreign players are becoming more and more prevalent in the NBA, and there's a reason that the last 5 MVPs in the NBA were all 7-footers and all from different countries. There's a reason for that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Brian, before we get out of here, we want to get information on your camps for those who may be interested. If you have any of that now, it may be a little early in the year for you. If you have a website, we want all that information. And I want to get into these semifinal games. And since we started with Purdue, let's stay there. The Purdue-North Carolina State matchup. 2 big men who were dominant in their games, Burns from North Carolina State, and of course, Edey for Purdue. And I love that point guard, Brandon Smith from Purdue also. But how do you see this matchup? And of course, I want your your thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is Purdue's not going to have to force a double team. They'll probably bring a double team at times, but it might be on the dribble, it might be on the catch, it might not come. Like they can mix up how they bring a double team. They can mix up if they double team. And to me, that now all of a sudden you're giving Burns completely different looks. Every other team that NC State had to play or played in the tournament, they brought the double right away. There was no question. They didn't have another guy to guard them. Now all of a sudden, Purdue has the luxury, hey, Zach, we're going to put you one-on-one here to start. We're going to give him a different look. Let's say he scores 3 buckets in a row or whatever it might be. All right, now we're going to go on the catch. All right, so you stop, get a couple of stops. All right, we're pulling the double team away. Then all of a sudden we're going to go on the double, but we're going to go on the double on the dribble now versus on the catch right away. So you can mix it all up. I love Purdue here. There's been 3 teams that were elite all year long in college basketball. All year long. There's been no question about these 3 teams. It was UConn, it was Purdue, and it was Houston. And I was devastated that Shed got hurt Friday night for Houston. They almost beat Duke. They should have beat Duke. They would have beat Duke with Shed. They would have continued. They would have beat NC State. Those 3 teams have been the best teams throughout all of college basketball all year long. We don't see Houston, but you see 2 of them. Monday night, I don't normally hope for things because it's college sports and anything can happen. I want to see Purdue UConn on Monday night because they have been the best teams with Houston. But those two have been the two best teams all year long. They've been the most consistent from the beginning in November until now. Let them play it off for the championship. That's what I hope for, and that's what I hope America gets.
Hey, Brian, before we go to Mo, I want you to explain something to our viewers a little bit. You said double on the catch and double on the dribble. Is that a different scheme of doubling? Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And why do you do one way and one the other way?
Well, I think more than anything, you do it because you mix it up. So on the catch, the guard, wherever you're sending the double from, that can vary, but usually it's from the top. The guard can come down right away. So as soon as that ball is entered, boom, the guard chest up, the big chest up, and you aren't letting him do anything. Now, if you go on the dribble, you catch it, you let Burns look around. As soon as he puts that dribble on, that guard is going right there. He's walling up as well. Now you got two people there. You force the dribble pickup. Now he's got no outlet whatsoever. If you go right away on the catch, he still has the dribble. So it just changes up the timing. And then what that does then is it changes up the cutting and where his outlets would be. On the catch, he gets used to it a little bit. So now all of a sudden right away, if he catches it, the guard goes, hey, I'm going to cut right to the front of the basket, exit out of there. If it's the dribble, you can change it up and people try to read it.
I love that. Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, and you do that for different reasons. So we used to double on the pass, on the catch, one dribble, two dribbles. And the reason you do that is what Brian was talking about. And also the reason you do that is depending on the specific player that's posting up. Some guys can really pass out of the post, out of a double team, when you come early. Some guys, when they put it on the floor, they're very inefficient and they can't pick the ball up and pass it. So there's different reasons to do that. And like Brian said, if you have a team that has the leisure to do that, it's so valuable. And I would say, I would agree with Brian too on let Zach Edey just guard him one-on-one. But I would tell Zach, listen, don't fricking foul him. Just,
yeah,
if
absolutely.
he makes a shot, but you're not going to, you know what? Don't even waste that much energy. Just make him shoot over you because they need you.
Just hold your hands up.
Well, especially this one, it's girth versus length. What's going to win, right? Is it going to be the thickness of Burns or is it going to be the height of Edey? And then that's where you figure it out. If you're Zach, you just stay nice and big and you let Burns try to go right through you. And that'll be the battle Saturday.
Hey, Mo, you always talked about when you played Kareem that you would try to push him. You would try to push him out and make him shoot it from the left side.
Yeah, that's right. So if he turns over his left shoulder with that sky hook, he can make that from 16 feet out. You can't touch it. Forget about it. But if you can push him to his right and make him shoot a jump shot, or better yet, dribble the ball. Now, and I've been there. Sometimes he'll dunk it on your head, but sometimes he might dribble off his foot, and you got a 50-50 shot. But if you let him go the other way, forget about it. It's over.
So how would you guard?
Go run down the other side.
How would you guard Edey?
And that's the one thing I think that Burns has that he's about 270, I think. So if I'm guarding him, and it's really hard because Purdue is so good. They're so well coached to get it in the post. And they're good passers. And they don't just come down and throw it to him. They come down, he sets a pick and roll. He rolls, they back pick him, and then he come and he seals and they swing the ball. But if he was coming down, I would meet him at the free throw line or top of the key and start moving him out as best as I could.
That's the only way.
Allow that in college, but once he catches it in the post, forget about it. And you know what though? I mean, I know he's a big that can shoot free throws, but the way he performed in the last game, if I have enough big bodies, I might foul him when he catches under there and make him shoot free throws rather than that little hook. But it's really difficult because they do it as well as anybody I've seen since the Boston Celtics when they had Parrish and McHale and those dudes. They just do it so well. It's and I really want everyone's giving me crap, and I've been pulling for Purdue the whole time. I picked them early. Because I want to see, I'm a big guy. I want to see Edey, well, they can't, but I do believe there's a way to win doing that. And they've done it. And if they can stick to it, and you know what, also, Brian, and you've been to a lot more games in person, a lot depends on the referees too. I mean, the referees that Houston got in that game, I mean, the other team shot 45 freaking free throws, and they all fouled out. So that's a big thing too.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing you mean. The other thing that's really important is ball pressure. I was on the call of their last loss against Wisconsin. Wisconsin was really good in their ball pressure. Purdue's, top 5 in the country as far as three-point shooting. I don't know where they're at right now. I know when Wisconsin played them, they were number 1 in the country from three-point shooting. So they got really good shooters around Zach Edey. But if you have some great ball pressure on what you're trying to do, now all of a sudden it's a little bit of loft on that pass. But what that gives you is time. Gives you time for the double team, or it gives you time for one last get out of here a little bit farther. And it's amazing, but all you do is just a little bit of that space. You get him farther out, that jump hook's a little bit farther out. But that you're hoping at that point. But ball pressure helps in all of that, and I think that's crucial.
Yeah, you can't defend the post with good post players unless you have ball pressure. They'll pick you apart.
Both you guys like Purdue in the semifinal game, no?
I do. Yeah.
Let's go over.
And I think
go ahead, Mom.
Not only are they good at feeding the post, but some of those guys can shoot threes too, and they're smarter. They threw the last game. They threw the ball away too much, and they looked laissez-faire, kind of like halfway doing it. But if they stay focused, if they just stay, they didn't get sped up by any team yet. I don't think they get sped up by North Carolina State, who's on the best roll, right? They've won 9 in a row. Their tournament, and that's like crazy. That's when
it's unheard of. Right? It's unheard of.
That's when I'm here in Vegas. That's when guys jump on that. They jump on that roll. Right? But I think they're all jumping off now against Purdue.
Hey, let's go over to the other matchup, UConn and Alabama. I don't know how UConn's going to stop Alabama's running game with that big offensive line they got. Oh, I forgot. This is Alabama basketball. This is Nick Saban.
Yeah,
this is Alabama basketball.
There's no option passes.
I am really. Alabama's always had good basketball team, but they've always been overshadowed by football. These guys shot the lights out the other day, but fellas, UConn went on a 30-0 run against a good Illinois. That's a good Illinois team.
It's a really good team, like a really good team. And most importantly, we talk about the 30-0 run, but to me, it was how they guarded Terrence Shannon Jr. Like they were elite on him. And this UConn team has done such a good job all year long. Like you said, 30-0. And I thought this was going to be a single-point game. I thought this was going to be close. I thought it was going to be the tightest game UConn had. Boy, was I wrong. I didn't see that. Like, I thought, what were you going to have in the first half? As tight as it was back and forth there. Okay, great. That's what we're going to have. I didn't see that 30-0 run. But I do know this. I know UConn is and has been tested, and they're tapping into all of this. Cam Spencer, the transfer from Rutgers, has been huge for them. I think, Clinton, you look at this. For me, I want 2 teams with 2 bigs to be in the finals. I think that's the way it will play out. It's about damn time the bigs get started. I'm all for that. But
yeah, I mean, Brian, can you imagine sitting over there as a coach and you're looking at your watch and going, we haven't scored for an hour. 1 hour of real time.
Oof, that hits different. There's no question about it. But I think Alabama, the way that they play with threes, will give them a shot. I think they'll get them a shot. Now they got to make those because that 3-point line's been crazy. Nate Oates, obviously a Wisconsin guy, a guy that got his roots there, and then obviously coached high school, and so it's fun for me to see him have success in the way he's doing it. But I just think UConn's too good. I did it once. I said Illinois will be in this thing. I'm not doing it again. And like I said, rightfully, and I get this is a single elimination tournament. So you have this. But that's why I was so upset when Houston lost. I don't really get upset a whole lot. I have to call the game, but I'm not going to lose sleep on it. I hurt for Houston, and I don't do that a whole lot because there's been those 3 teams that have been the best. The 2, now you're down to 2, UConn, Purdue. Let them play it out Monday night. I hope that's where we're at. Not nothing against Alabama or NC State, but it's about, I'm a big guy about consistency, and those guys have been the most consistent.
I would give Purdue, I hope hoping this might happen. One thing that Purdue has is they've been in some games.
Oh.
UConn hasn't been in but a blowout. So how are their kids, right? How are they going to react on national TV in the big moment, and all of a sudden it's a 2-point game? We haven't been through this before in a long time. What are we going to do now? And that's why I tell people, don't bet on college sports, man, because they're kids. You know, who knows what could happen? And that's a little edge that I think Purdue has. They're better in the half court. And if it gets close, they've been there before.
Yeah, and I mean, UConn's been in some tight games. The 3 games that they've lost, they've scored 66, 16, 65. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing defensively for Purdue. Can they slow down UConn as far as scoring the basketball? But having a rim protector, and I hope the league gets back to it at some point, because the big is just gone. There's a lot of good players overseas because they just didn't fit in what the NBA is now. And I don't know if it'll ever get back. We'll see. I think European bigs will help it because that's what's going to have to develop. I don't know if it ever goes back all the way to a full, true low post big anymore, but we'll see. But I just think like having 2 bigs be huge in both teams here can only help because it always is. I mean, that's a copy. Everything's a copycat.
How do you get this from Mo? How do you define Joker? You don't consider him? I know he can do everything, but you don't consider him a true low post big. Brian, the Joker.
You know, I think so for me, where we're at, he still is a low post big to me. Can he stretch the floor? Can he handle the high post? Yeah. But like you put him in the block if you need to go to a bucket, you can put him in the block and he'll get it for you. So to me, I do categorize him still as a low post big. I do.
I mean, that's what you saw it. I agree. You saw it against Miami last year, right? They couldn't guard him in the low post. Now, the low post is kind of easing its way out to the dunking angle and you know that kind of. But when I was in Dallas, we used to post up Dirk at the elbow. He still did the same back of the basket stuff, just gave more space. But the Joker can play in the low post. He just hasn't as much as But he can do it all. I just it's amazing to me, and I think when I went to the in-season tournament here in Las Vegas, I saw Adam Silver and I complained about no defense in the NBA, and I think he listened because he's supposed to be changing the rules to help the defense. We'll see.
Yeah, it is, but Coach Mo, like it is needed. It's a narrative, even because I do a sports talk show in Milwaukee. Yeah, it's statewide, but it's Milwaukee, and the Bucks are really good. They got the best player in the league, right? Like in Giannis, and it's tough to get fans engaged until right now. Like now, they're like, oh yeah, the Bucks, they're pretty good. And that's a problem for the league as far as the fan base. Now I know the money's still coming in and owners are still making their money and franchises are still selling at what they're selling. So it's not that big a deal to those players. But to the common fan, when they're paying $80 or $100 for a ticket and you don't know who's going to play. You don't know what kind of game you're going to get. I'll be honest, with 3 young kids, I'm not paying $500 to go see that. I'm not doing it.
Go to a G League game.
Yeah, exactly.
I go to G League games. I don't pay for anything anymore anyway. But anyway, if I did and had kids, I would go to a G League game because but you're right, though. I mean, they learned their lesson, I thought, years ago. And it was actually, I was coaching RGV, I think, and we coached in the All-Star game here in Las Vegas. They had the All-Star game, NBA, and the sophomores and rookies or second-year guys played, and it was like a 210 to 190, and no one played defense, and it was a joke, and everybody hated it. It's like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
So the NBA is starting to get. I mean, I think I had a technical one time in the D League, because one of my players bodied up someone and they called a foul. I'm like, what foul? Oh, the defense cannot impede the offense. I'm like, isn't that the definition of defense? Impeding the offense? Wait a minute.
That's a good one, Mo. Hey,
yeah,
Brian.
I got a T for it. I got a T for it and fine for it, Ricky. Linda was mad at me too.
Hey, Brian. I don't know how much you've locked in on the Bucks yet, but Moore and I have talked about them. Losing Holiday, bringing in Damian Lillard, firing Griffith after going 33-13. Your thoughts on the state of the Bucks? I'm in Detroit. I saw them early in the year coming here. They beat the Pistons.
Everybody has.
Yeah, I was going to say, but who
That's what I'm
hasn't?
talking about. I need him on my show all the time because he can give it to you too.
but Brian, the Pistons were scoring at will on them. Their defense, I think, has suffered without Holiday. Of course, Dame is a great offensive player. Do you think this actual swap has made them better, or?
I think it will, because in the end, players are going to have to make plays, right? Offensive. One of the biggest concerns that I had with Milwaukee in the years past was, and they've done this because they've had injuries, right? They had Giannis, they had Chris, and there wasn't a guy to get them through the series. Like, they didn't get a chance to get healthy. Like, Chris could have played 2 years ago. Giannis probably could have played last year had they gotten through the series. They didn't get through the series. Dame can get you through the series early on. So I think that's why the move was made. Did they suffer defensively? Yes. Did they go get Adrian and was that Giannis's guy? Yes. Is that how that played out? Absolutely. Did I think that Adrian probably defensively, system wise, with a younger team, would he have a better voice? He probably would have been a better coach for a younger team. I think what he was asking a veteran team to do, the veterans didn't buy into. I think he was asking Brooke to do things that Brooke just said, I can't do it. Like, I know what I do well. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be out there doing this and splitting this and we're Xing out and we're doing all this other stuff. Like, that's not what we do because I can't physically do it. That's my observations from afar on that. So was I upset that there was a change made? No, I thought the change probably needed to happen. Do I think that they suffered defensively? Absolutely. Do I still think that when it comes down to the playoffs, Giannis and Dame can figure it out? I do, but Dame needs to be right first. And I think this is what people forget. Like, he's going through a divorce. There's personal reasons he was gone last night. There's this going. Like, do we have Dame of Portland or do we have Dame of Milwaukee still trying to figure out the other stuff when Dame had everything he needed in Portland? Like, that's what concerns me about where they're at.
Yeah, we don't want Dame of I'm lonely in Milwaukee Dame. We need it's time to score Dame.
Yeah.
They did address their defense, I thought, with Jay Crowder and picking up Beverly. I think he hurt his wrist though.
He did, yeah.
Yep. And Portis can play defense too. And I'm a good friend of Griff, and I coached him, and I saw him here in Vegas early, and I was sitting feet from the bench, and I was concerned about how they were not reacting, gelling. Damon and Giannis didn't. They were like, okay, you score, okay, I score. It doesn't work that way. And I was going to talk to him after the game, but he was so pissed off. I think that Doc Rivers is respected. I think he's a veteran coach that likes veteran players. Oh, okay, Brooke, if you can't do it that way, let's do it this way, but we're going to do it right. Do it the right way. So it's going to be interesting. I think there's Boston's been the best team in the league, for all year, but I think there's a kink in their armor. It might be mental. I don't know. I just, I like their pickups and, but I think Holiday's been hurt too. So, it's not quite the wild, wild west we have out here, but Bucks, Boston, maybe Philly if they get Embiid back, but, I have hope for my Bucks that they'll pull it all together. And damn, Dane, there's a lot of restaurants and places you go to in Milwaukee. I know it's cold, but get out there.
It's not cold. Well, it did snow today, but I'm saying it's going to be nice now. But that's my thing with the Bucks. Am I concerned? I hope Adrian gets a chance. I hope this isn't his only chance, because I think with a young team, with guys that understand what he's trying to do and how to go about it, I think it's just a better fit. I think being a coach sliding over a chair is a big deal, right? Like, it's sometimes it's like
that's what Nelly and those guys used to tell me, that those 18 inches is moving over, and I used to tell my assistants that. But you know where he'd be a good coach? Detroit.
Absolutely.
Well, we just gave Monty Williams $100 million, so he's gonna have to stay and stick it out.
Just
I don't
move
care
up.
how bad we are.
Just move up a little bit, or bring him in as your associate head coach. I mean, come on, man.
We just did that. Let's bring in some good players. How about that? Hey, Mo. Brian was talking about Lopez saying, "I'm just not doing that." That happens. I mean, he's still the coach. It's the NBA. That's your job. That's your boss, right?
Not anymore. It's not. Once the players, Magic and that group was the first. Once they start making more money than the head coach, you don't have. That's why I've talked to Izzo. I've talked to a lot of college coaches that were fooling around with going up. I said to the NBA, I said, "You don't, coach. You don't want to do that, man. First of all, okay, you're in college. You got to deal with recruiting and school, blah, 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 now NIL, but you're the boss. You're the face of the team, right? In the NBA, you're not the face of the team as the head coach. Even Popovich, one of the greatest coaches ever, is not the face of the team. Wembanyama is. And guys are making 30, 40, $50 million, and you're the highest paid coach in the NBA. You're making 10. Guess who goes first? And, that's the greatest coaches in the NBA history, Popovich, Don Nelson, guys like that, they know that the players in the NBA have to let you coach them. If they don't let you coach them, you're going to fight a losing battle. You're going to have headaches. And guess what? You're going to get that call from the owner and the GM. Hey, sorry, Brian, we're going in another direction. And, that's the first to go. So it's just not that way anymore.
Well, and that was my thing with the G League. The short time I was there, I was like, I'm good. I'm good because I'm trying to tell these guys what they need to do to either stay there or go back there. And if they don't want to listen, they're not even making that, and they still don't want to. I just said, hey, I'm all for coaching. I'm not all for holding your hand. I'm not that's not my job. I got 3 young kids. I got 5, 3, and 18-month-old. Trust me, I hold hands at home. I'm not doing it with at work.
Brian, I would have held your hand, man, if you would have came to play for me.
Hey, how about? Hey, Mo,
you didn't have to worry about that. You knew where I was going to be. Hey, let's get to work. Let's find a way to get this thing. Now I'm going to try to get the hell out of there, but let's try to get me the hell out of there.
And I would when I coached there, I told guys, listen, I'm going to tell you what it is, not what you want to hear. And guess what? Getting up to the NBA doesn't mean you're going to score 30 points a game. You're not going to go to the NBA. You're not going to score 30 points a game. Can you rebound? Can you block? Can you? I have a high basketball IQ. Garrett Temple, one of the guys that I coached, he averaged 12, 7, and 6. That's what he averaged, and he had 10 years. And but then I had a guy, Nick Fasikas, who played for me in Reno, and he came up to, he was averaging 30 and 15, I think. And he came up to me and said, "Coach, I got to leave. I got to make some money." And I agreed because he couldn't guard the pick and roll, and
he's making money. I played with him in Japan.
He can, man. You can imagine my first training camp with him was shooting that 12-foot push hook thing. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then it went in all the time. I'm like, "Hey, keep doing that. That's good."
That's good coaching right there.
That's good. Hey, how about when Steve Nash went to Brooklyn and Kyrie said, we really don't even need a coach. I'm like, how is that going to turn out? Man, look, hey, Brian, first of all, you got to come back and visit us here on We Got Next, man, because we're running out of time here. But I do want to get your thoughts on going back to the college game for a minute. Who are some of the guys you think could be good NBA players that you watched over the year? Just maybe some prospects.
I think one of them, obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., I think is really good and how he's going to go about it. I've been heavy on the Big Ten and Big East, and I think that's part of the problem with the Big Ten is you look at that and who really can be. I think Terrence Shannon fits that mold. I think Zach Edey will have a huge impact. But I don't feel like there's been a lot of NBA guys. A guy that I cover a lot is AJ Storr, and he's testing the NBA waters right now. And I told him, I didn't tell him, but I told people around. I said I don't think he's NBA ready right now. He's IQ's down a little bit. His assist to turnover ratio is too high, and his 3-point percentage dropped 10% from St. John's to Wisconsin. And I guess that's what scares me a lot. And I know we talked earlier about it, like the draft. If you talk to NBA guys, they don't really like it a whole lot, coach, right? Like their talent-wise, this year is kind of a little iffy. Yeah. So when I look at that, the first guy that jumps out, Terrence Shannon Jr., I think he's going to be a really good pro. I think he's obviously played a lot, understands it. Now, what happens with the legal situation that he's going through is a whole different story. And, what is that? How does that play out? What really happened? I don't know. But that'll play a factor in it. I think there's some other guys that might have a little bit of an impact, but I don't think there's that guy, especially in the Big Ten this year, that I look at that say, hey, he's going to have a huge impact in the season. I really don't. I think Big East, I think you look at Oso Ighodaro, I think he'll be a really good pro as far as the way that they play. I think Tyler Kolek, I really like him. I think he's a point guard with some moxie, some guy that can understand it now. Will the team give him a chance? Is he a first rounder? I know he's projected first round right now. And then you look at UConn, a couple of their guys are going to be really good as far as what they're able to do too. So those would be the guys that jump out at me.
Yeah, I like and the UConn kid, the big kid, Clean.
Yeah.
He runs the floor. He's long. He's athletic. Needs to be able to stretch out. I see his jumper's not broke, but he needs to be consistent. Nowadays to step out and hit the three. What's the kid from Tennessee, the 6'7" forward?
Oh, Dalton Knecht.
Yeah. I think he showed in the last game that he can shoot deep threes covered, and that's important. And he's got the long body. He's got like a European type length and stuff. And
I actually saw him. Wisconsin played Tennessee, and he took over at that point in November as well. He's been great all year long, no question.
But I think I've been to the Ignite games here in the G League, and they have Holland, who's supposed to be a lottery pick, and the other 6'10" kid. I'm like, man, I just don't see it. I mean, Holland can't shoot.
We're going to take a chance on him. That's the way it goes. I mean, that's just.
I mean, I'm like, you're right though. I mean, and then you got, it's funny. I look in the mock drafts now. There's like 4 French players now that might be almost. Everyone's looking at France now.
Hey, Brian, your thoughts on the transfer portal?
There's not enough time for that, boys.
That's going to be a whole new show.
We got about 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes to break it down for us.
No, I think the transfer. So there's 2 things, right? And they're now going hand in hand. But you have the NIL and you have the transfer portal. Both of them are nuts. So now all of a sudden you've combined it. And what we've got right now in the landscape of college basketball is a pay for play because of the transfer portal. You can go in, you can put your name in the transfer portal as much as you want, and you can get paid. So let's say you go to a small school, you have a great year, you go put your name in the portal. Someone says he'll give you $100,000. Great, I'm going there, and that's where you're at. Now, if you have success there, you can put your name in a portal and make that $400,000, $500,000. That's never what this was supposed to be about. I'm fine with a one-time transfer. I'm fine with that. The unlimited transfers, I just don't think are right. I don't think it's setting up our kids for success in life. Here's the thing: I've been through a lot in my life. When I was at Wisconsin, we were #1 in the country. I dislocated my elbow on national TV. Like, we had a team that probably could have got to the Final Four. Never happened. When I was in the G League, I ruptured my patella tendon when I signed a contract with the Denver Nuggets. Like, there's a lot of things that didn't go my way. That's life. That's good. What happens, right? Like, even afterwards, my 3-year-old, when he was a year and a half, had to have brain surgery because he had brain cancer. Like, there's things that happen. Because of life, because of the game of basketball, you learn, you fight through it. Like, everything doesn't go your way. There's not a place to go. There's not a place to abort and go somewhere else. Like, that's life, right? That's real world stuff. And right now we're teaching our kids, if you don't like it here, go somewhere else. If you don't like it there, go somewhere else. If you don't like it there, go somewhere else. We're not helping our kids for society. And I think that's my biggest thing. Talk about money and pay for play, and that's wrong too. But like they're 18 to 22-year-old kids. Think about the values we could teach them. I know I'm old school when it comes to that. I get that. I get that I'm probably the odd man out on that kind of conversation. But to me, that's what college athletics should be about, is setting up our kids for success. And if they can go play professionally, fantastic, go do it. But we're losing what it is to be successful human beings because of we're just allowing everyone to go. The pay for play is wrong. I'm all for NIL. I'm all for kids getting paid. I'm not all for kids getting paid so much when they haven't even played any minutes there. Like that's not what NIL was about. We're at a point of let's pay our athletes, let's pay everybody now before they perform. And then are they getting paid? Are they getting what they're agreed upon?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of that's not happening as well. Hey, we'll give you 500,000. Well, they've only gotten 100,000 of it or whatever it might be. Like, so there's just a lot of things that are wrong. I think we started with this, and I mean it. This will get corrected. It'll get fixed. So if you're a college basketball fan, don't just leave it. Like it'll get this can't last forever because it just can't.
I'll tell you what. I've told this story before, but 100 years ago when I was at Kansas, I started 4 years. I got hurt my freshman year, pulled a hamstring. My sophomore year, right before Christmas break, I broke my ankle in practice, and I played in St. Louis, and I had a red eye back home to LA. And the coach and some other people, suck it up, play. I could hardly run, and I played double overtime. Got on the airplane with my tape on, and back then you could have scissors, and about halfway through the flight, I cut half the tape off, and but I got off the plane. My dad I couldn't walk. He got a wheelchair, went to the doctors the next morning, got the x-ray. It was broken in 3 places. So I called the coach up. I say, listen, I know I'm only supposed to be home for 5 days. I'm going to stay for, 3 weeks because, I can't do anything. He said, it's not broken. I sent him x-rays. Anyway, long story short, I went to visit some of my friends that went to Pepperdine and played basketball there. And I went to a practice and then went to their apartment on the beach that opened, their sliding door opened up onto the sand. And they're all giving me a couple beers saying, "Oh, screw them. Why don't you come here and play? You'll be our starting center." And I was like, yeah, I'm going to come to do that. And then I go home and I tell my dad, "Dad, screw Kansas. I'm going to go." He said, "No, you're not. You made a 4-year commitment. You're going back to school. You're going to heal up." And thank God, because I healed up, had a decent career, met my wife of 42 years. And that taught me something, exactly what you're saying, Brian. It's so right on the money.
That's
all of us are going to be pros for a long time. Not all of us are going to have 100 million. Like, that's not the reality. You're seeing the portal right now. There's 1,000 kids. Problem is, there's not 1,000 spots.
Yeah, a lot of guys go get it. Hey, we got to go. Brian, tell us about your camps. Tell us about your radio show and all the great stuff you're doing.
Yeah, you can catch me on the iHeartRadio app. We do it's out of Milwaukee, 97.3 The Game. You can catch us there every 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. every day. Me and Steve Zabin, he does that, but we do that. You can catch me on college basketball on Fox. I've worked for Fox Sports, Big Ten Network, a little bit of CBS Sports. I did some work this year. My camps are Brian Butch Basketball Camps.com. We travel throughout the country, running camps, doing things all summer long, and I'm just passionate about this thing, this little orange pill that has gotten me many different places. And when I love it, I love to talk about it. It's fun, and my biggest thing is just, hey, find what you love to do in this world and keep doing it, and you'll never work a day in your life. I know that sounds corny again, but I've been stealing money for a long time, and I hope to keep doing it.
It's true. It's the truth. Hey, we got to get out of here. Well, Big Mo, I'm Rick Hampton. Brian, thank you so much, man.
Thanks,
See you next time on We Got Next. Peace, everybody. Have a great night.